Good morning and welcome to Equity Story Friday, the 31st of March. I'm on my own again. Dave's just been slack, lazy. I don't even know. Doesn't matter. You have to listen to me today. So welcome and thank you for joining. I'm going to talk about today a pretty interesting topic, and that is the NASDAQ back? Is the risk back on? Due to the fact that, technically speaking, NASDAQ is back in a bull market. Unbelievable. Anyway, I'll talk about that in a moment. Before I go on, and I'll talk about some stories that delivered some news this morning, have a look in front of you is the Equity Story disclaimer. Every story I talk about today will be based on technicals and fundamentals only. All right, so let's move on first of all, and I will show you some of the screens. So before I go on to any news, I'm going to put in the screen for the commodity so you can see exactly what I'm looking at. And last night we've had a pretty good day on the NASDAQ. So from that point of view, you think, are the good times back? Are the investors interested again? Is the risk back on? It seems to be, right? It seems to be like the market is starting to maybe see there is a light at the end of the tunnel. The banking crisis, let's call it, seems to have sort of abated for the moment. Is it over? Probably not. But anyway, it's been fairly quiet there for a few days. Second of all, seems like the inflation is definitely starting to ease off, even if it's slowly. It doesn't matter. The market enjoys that. And possibly as a result, the interest rates might start possibly getting a bit of a pause, which means the market's looking forward and thinking, okay, we're past the worst. We're looking at some better stories. And anyway, the drive by the NASDAQ is from the real big stories, the Microsofts of the world, the Apples of the world, the companies that are cashed up, still producing pretty well. So that's where probably the interest is anyway, and it's dragging everything along. All right, so let's look at the check economics. Let's look at some of these commodity prices. Let's see what's happened. So crude oil is up, which is good. So obviously we talked about Woodside, VEA, ALD. That's still current. We're happy with that. We're happy how that's going for the dividend. So if you're looking for a story, you've got those three stories anyway to play with. Let's look at uranium. It's done nothing. Coal is slightly up today. So I think it's fairly steady for the week, which is good because it's been falling and falling and falling. But of course, it's down for the month about 8%. Gold had a bit of a rebound. So we got now $1980. So we got for week is slightly down. For the month is up about 8%. That's decent. Iron ore is up for the week 1.5%. So that's probably being dragged by possibly the risk back on the market again, and thinking that China is going to go okay. I think I saw some general chit chat from the Chinese government talking about that we are going to hit our GDP targets. That's probably pushing and giving that positive vibe about it, which is driving some of these commodity prices. So if we keep going down further, lithium hasn't done anything. It's down 33% for the month, 12% down for the week. That's why we talked about it yesterday. And if we go down to the base metals, we've got lead up, aluminium up, tin up, zinc was down today, nickel was down today, cobalt was up. So some of these pretty much mixed, but generally speaking, I think on the up, because if you look at the week, you've got tin is brought the best performer at 10%, and followed by nickel at 6.5%. All right, so let's move now. I'll change the screens and go to Reuters so we can have a look at some charts. And I'll quickly actually put on the Woodside charts and the other two. So let's have a look at Woodside first. So you can see from a technical point of view, and where the oil is heading. So it's bounced off that $68. You can see nice little bounce from Woodside. This is on the weekly, of course. It's still below trend line, so it's not a trending story. But for a dividend, we said, around the $30, $31 for a dividend. That's when you'd be buying. That's when you want to be buying these things, because it's on almost like on a cyclical low, and in a band that's it's trending. You want to buy it on a lowish band, which was around the $30. So that's starting to head up again. I'd say the average price over the next 12 months will probably be out around $33, $34. So if you like the dividend as well, you're going to be okay. Look at ALD as well. So let's have a look at that one. Ampol. And that one probably, let's have a look. Yep, looking okay. bouncing nicely. So again, this is a good dividend story. And VEA is the other one. Let's have a look at that. So you've got three really interesting, good stories for the dividend. And this one looks actually very good with a buy signal to boot. I'm going to write this down, of course, because Dave loves this sort of stories, right? With the buy signal. We're going to talk about these anyway on our Ask the Analyst. So please join us for that. You know, it's always a great place to just talk about stories, look at some great really good charts, throwing ideas around. We all help each other and benefit out of it, of course, at the end of the day. So anyway, VA looks probably the best of them all with a little buy signal if it finishes like that at the end of the day. All right, so that looks pretty good. Let's have a look at a couple of announcements this morning. So PSI and AUB. So AUB, PSI, we're going to be sharing these Tizers as a acquisition in the UK. Let's have a look at PSI, still looking okay. If you bought this on this candle or maybe this candle, it's still a hold. Nothing wrong with this chart. It's still looking okay. So I think there's a little bit delay, I think, on this acquisition. But anyway, it's still okay. I don't mind it at all. Let's look at AUB. That's together with this partnership. Let's see what happens. And again, it's pretty good, looking all right. So if you bought this as a long-term hold, as a hold, if you bought it for a trade, you probably would have sold it on that. But anyway, if you're still in it, it's still a hold. All right, the other announcement was AGI. Now, this was very frustrating, right? So we've had, the story goes, I really liked the story. I thought it was coming back from I suppose, from a period of underperformance. So we've sort of bought it around here, and we thought, okay, a turnaround story, possibly looking better. It looks like it's got quite a large leverage. ALL is going okay. We thought this could actually go up to 150, 160. I think Macquarie had a price that got about 140, so they were quite bullish. We looked at the story. It's sort of, you know, initial past that, it didn't go on with it. So it came to the trend lines. We thought, okay, $1 is our last line of defense. So unfortunately, last week, and the timing was pretty bad, right? So last week we had the elections in New South Wales. Both parties were talking about changing the pokies, or, you know, really strong focus on pokies, possibly affecting AGI. Spooked the market. Market sold it down. We just basically had to get out. And that's the problem here, right? Because of both parties. But was it just political? What are they talking about just to gain some points from the voters? God knows. However, there's still that overhanging. Are they going to do anything to this pokey space in New South Wales? It's not probably, and we're going to find out probably for a few weeks, months, maybe even, right? However, market's gone, well, election's over, bounce back to 105. I mean, how frustrating is that, right? 1 week with the election, back where it was, pretty much status quo, except maybe, you know, we might see something from the government later down the stage, or maybe they'll just sweep it under the carpet like they usually do. What do we do? Is the case here. Do we get back into this and, you know, just take it that unfortunately we had a bit of a loss here and get back into it on this one? I think just give it another week just to see if it can hold that, if it was just a one-off reversal. But I love this action here that the market said, nah, why did we do that, basically, right? We're back into this. So I think I still like it as, you know, the turnaround story, possibly looking at a buy. And look, if it finishes like that, for a trader, it looks almost like a buy signal, right? So it finishes around 505, 506. As a trader, you'll probably be buying for next week. But as a long-term investor, I'm thinking, do I give it an extra week just to see if it can actually hold that 105, whether this is a genuine reversal or not? That's the question for me. So maybe I'll look at it Monday and decide for next week whether I buy it. So yeah, this is a frustrating one. I don't know. I probably will wait till next week. But as a trader, like I said, if it finishes like that, you probably maybe have a go at this, because we've seen some reversals before. So I'll show you a couple of reversals, right? So SHL was a big one. So the market pretty much got this wrong. Sold it down, right? Sold it down here, thinking, this is going to be a bad announcement. It's going to be terrible. We don't like it. Then the announcement came in February. Sonic Healthcare, we actually delivered a pretty good result. Really smashed the negativity from the market and from the charts. Reversed. You can see that what actually happens whether we and it's gone on with it. Right now, it looks like a buy for next week. So this is the reason why, I don't know, it is sometimes difficult. And sometimes you think to yourself, do I give it an extra week, especially where there's an announcement coming, maybe, right? And look, sometimes it works out for you, sometimes it doesn't work out for you because it could be a bad announcement post this. But, you know, sometimes it happens like this. So sometimes you have to take the pill and say to yourself, the bitter pill, we got to take a loss. But at least now I've passed the actual announcement. Now I know exactly where it should be going, up, and there you go. The other one was Aurora, another one that was exactly the same as SHL. Market was discounting it, was taking it negatively. There's going to be some bad news. No, it wasn't. Reversal, bang, bang. And look at that. This chart looks very good for next week, actually. So again, another one that we can probably talk about. I tend to think that that reversal from AGI is a positive, and it will probably go on with it next week. All right, so let's move on to the next bit. Let's talk about the NASDAQ, because this is the really interesting part, right? Where you've got a technical bull market. I mean, unbelievable. So let's go into that and let's have a look what it looks like. And look at this. This is on a weekly post sell down, up, down, down, up, down, up. Now that tells the big green candle that possibly tells you that where the money's flowing, right? It's flowing into the NASDAQ. Last week you thought to yourself, yeah, okay, it looks all right, but this week is actually probably going to go. It's actually going on with it. I mean, this is an unbelievable thing. So let's have a look at some of these stories. That's what I want to talk about. So if there's a technical bull market, what stories should we be looking at? So of course, in the US, there's a lot of stories. Microsoft is one, right? Looking pretty good. So let's have a look at that one. That's probably maybe go on with it. AAPL, let's have a look at that one. So I like Microsoft. Microsoft's probably my favorite at the moment in this space. Look at that. That looks very good. Let's look at maybe something like a Google. There's that going. And I'll actually go to the Australian ones in a sec, but I want to have a look at some of these American ones. Are they back? This is not quite, but still okay. Let's look at maybe something like FTNT, which I really like. Is in a cybersecurity space, right? Which is huge at the moment. Look at that chart. Unbelievable. It's probably going now, going to maybe retouch that previous highs, super highs of $70. Something probably again to have a look at. Let's look at AMD. In the chip space, let's see how they're going. Yeah, look at that. That's still pretty good. If you bought it on this breakout, it's still a hold. Amazon, AMZN. What are they doing? Yeah, that looks all right, but it needs to do more for sure. At least it's starting to work itself back up, right? But I wouldn't touch that on. You've got Microsoft, you've got FTNT, you've got so many other stocks. And join us for Ask the Analyst at midday, and we'll talk about more of these sort of stories. All right, so let's go into the Australian stories. What have we got here in Australia that looks all right in the tech space? XRO, first one. It's again had that nice, beautiful jump about 4 weeks ago. There's a bit of a resistance right there, but if you can break through that, I think we're pretty much back on. So one to watch, maybe slightly early, maybe not. Maybe if you like it, go a little bit early. You can have a look at this as a nibble long term. As a trader, maybe you want to just wait till that gets over that $90. Let's look at Altium. What's going on there? Yeah, that looks good. Actually starting to bounce off that trend line, starting to look maybe going up again. That looks all right. I'm liking that. WTC. Maybe just needs another week though, Altium, but looks all right. All-time highs for WiseTech. Unbelievable story. So well done to that. Even our dog, I'm going to look at the dog. Other dogs starting to move. And because when you've got a bull market in the NASDAQ, maybe the dog's starting to move. Appen, no, let's not touch that one yet. Or maybe ever. Let's look at some of the other favorites of ours. SDR. Okay, bouncing. It had that sell down. It's bouncing, but it just is not enough. So we've got to wait for that. But you can see there's a life. There's life in some of these stories. PXA. You can see if you're going to be buying some of these NASDAQ stories, stick to the NASDAQ, that's got a bull market. Stick to maybe the American stories for the moment that are looking trading quite well. Let's look at PXA. Still needs to do a little bit more, but I like the action here. It needs to do more for sure. But let's look at some of the market darlings. REA. Profitable. Look at that. What a strong chart. And that's looking like he wants to go higher, maybe 150 bucks even. Wowie. What can you say? What a chart. So WTC, REA looking really good for next week. So we do have some in Australia here we can definitely trade and play. Wow, I like this too. Castle is looking very good. What a nice chart that is, and possibly a buy for next week too. So that's 3. Seek, let's look at that one. Another good story in Australia. And then we'll look at a couple of others that are smaller. So again, that one's looking actually pretty good. It's bouncing off those trend lines. It just maybe needs a little bit more, maybe get over that 24.50. But it's not far away. It's not far away. So it's another one that maybe you want to have a look at. Let's look at 360. One of the other market darlings that we used to have here. And we'll look at NP1 last one. So it hasn't done enough. That one's probably a no, not a no-go zone. And NP1 is the last one. But anyway, we've got a few. You know, this is why we got to follow the trends. We can make some money here. And Megaport is definitely a no-no. All right. So, guys, you can look at definitely oil, gas, 3 stories. I showed you. Pretty interesting. VAA with a buy signal. I went through the NASDAQ, some stocks. I went through some Australian stocks in here as well, looking some really good charts. Join us for ATA. We'll talk about a bit more. Thank you very much for joining me. Have a great weekend. Hopefully this market behaves itself, finishes on a high today, and we'll have a good leading for next week. Cheers. Enjoy. See you later.